The clams. These are the people who say little, even when they've got something important to contribute. And the chatterers? Well, they are the ones who say a little too much, often at the wrong times. Now, in every office, you're bound to come across both types.
Manners on the go.
Hello everyone and welcome again to Manners on the Go. Today we're tackling two very different workplace personalities, but they both have something in common. They make communication really tough. I'm talking about the clams and the chatterers. Now, in every office, you're bound to come across both types. The clams. These are the people who say little, even when they've got something important to contribute. And the chatterers? Well, they are the ones who say a little too much, often at the wrong times. Let's start with the clams. These are the folks who tend to hold back in conversations. Maybe they're introverted, or maybe they're just unsure of themselves. But whatever the reason, getting them to speak up can feel like pulling a teeth. And here's the thing, just because they're quiet doesn't mean that they don't have valuable insights. Often, they're listening closely, observing, and thinking deeply about the issues at hand. But if they don't speak up, those valuable contributions never make it to the table. And that can be a real problem for team dynamics. So how do you engage with a clam? It's all about patience and respect. One of the most effective strategies is to use open-ended questions. Instead of asking yes or no questions like, do you agree? Ask them something that requires a more thoughtful response. Try, what do you think about this approach? Or how do you see this playing out? This gives them space to share their thoughts without feeling pressured. Another thing to remember is to give them time. Clams might need a little longer to process their thoughts before they feel comfortable speaking up. So, if you don't get an answer right away, don't rush them or move on too quickly. Just let them know that their input is valued and give them room to express it. And here's the big one. When they do speak, make sure to acknowledge their contribution. It can take a lot of courage for a clam to break their silence. So recognizing their effort goes a long way. A simple, "That's a great point," or "Thanks for sharing that," can make all the difference. Now, let's swing to the other side of the spectrum, the chatterers. These are the folks who just can't stop talking. And look, I get it. Some people process their thoughts out loud, and they are just really enthusiastic about what's being discussed. But as we all know, when one person dominates the conversation, it can be exhausting. The chatterer will go on and on about everything, often veering off topic, sharing way more detail than anyone needs, or talking just to fill the silence. And while enthusiasm is great, constant chatter can drown out other voices, making it hard for the team to stay focused or for quieter colleagues to get a word in. So how do you handle chatterers without hurting their feelings or stifling their enthusiasm? Well, one key is to gently steer the conversation back on track. If they are going off on a tangent, try something like, "That's interesting, but let's focus on the main issue for now." It's a subtle way of reminding them that there is a bigger picture without shutting them down completely. Another great tactic is to use closed questions. Chatterers thrive on open-ended questions that let them ramble. So instead of asking, "What do you think of this project?" ask, "Do you think this project is on schedule?" It's a question that invites a yes or no answer, which helps keep the conversation short and to the point. And let's talk about those non-verbal signals. Sometimes we unintentionally encourage chatterers by giving them too much attention. If you are nodding along or making lots of eye contact, they'll take that as a green light to keep going. So, if you need them to wrap up, reduce the signals that suggest you are interested in hearing more. Don't completely ignore them, but keep it neutral. This helps send the message that it's time to move on. Ultimately, it's all about balance. Both clams and chatterers can disrupt team dynamics in their own way. But with the right approach, we can help them find a healthy middle ground. Whether it's encouraging the clam to speak up or gently guiding the chatterer to be more concise, it's about creating a space where everyone's voice is heard and where communication is efficient and productive. So, what's your experience been like? Have you worked with a clam or a chatterer? I have. Or maybe you've realized you might be one yourself. No judgment here. Let me know in the comments how you've navigated these personalities and if you've got any tips for handling them. I'd love to hear your stories. And that's it for today's episode. Until next time, keep those manners sharp and your communication even sharper. I'm Tosin Babasaya Craig and this is Manners on the Go. Thank you and see you again. Goodbye.
Manners on the go.